Yeah,
All right, let's
like
get
to
to
keep
some
the hat
football.
on as well.
Let's get to some football games. I still haven't showered yet today. It's been one of those. Been one of
That's
those
lovely.
days. The hat
That's
hair
lovely.
in the bed head is, it is
And
rough.
I just always wear a hat. It has nothing to
This
do
is
with the.
true. Hats and boots since the time we were in college.
Mhm.
All right, let's get to the slate of games. I don't like this slate of games from a betting perspective, but I love this slate of games from a watching perspective. I think this is a prove it week for so many teams. Find out who you are. What are your holes? What are your problems? What direction are you headed? For so many teams. And what do I mean by that? We're going to start right off the bat with the biggest game early, I think, probably. Well, maybe not the biggest game, but an important game from a watching perspective. Indiana, Ohio State. Line is at 20.5 for Ohio State. Over-under's at 67. I hate big lines like this. And I don't think Indiana is going to win here. I'm not calling my shot. I'm not Babe Ruthing this saying Indiana is going to win. But I said we both, I think we're in agreement on this when the Big Ten opened up. Tom Allen had quietly built himself a
Mhm.
hell of a program. They have everybody's now talking about them. Everybody's now in the Indiana bandwagon. Not so much for winning this game, but as far as like Tom Allen's great. This is a good, solid program. They're not the ninth best team in the country. That's overinflated right now. But by prove it, I'm here thinking Ohio State's going to win this game. Tom Allen and this team is an emotion team. They run high on emotions. This will be an emotional game. They're going to be fired up for it. Is Ohio's defense suspect, or can they play on an elite level that's going to get them to a potential national championship? That's what I mean by prove it here, because I think Indiana holds strong here and covers the 20. I don't think they win, but I do think they give. I think they're a better version of Nebraska, who gave that Ohio State defense until Martinez started to get banged up, some trouble. And I think we're going to see Ohio State's defense get exposed a little bit for not being able to hold their own water for this team, and going to be the ultimate kind of Achilles heel if this team is going to make a push for the national championship. But we're going to see here. This is the prove it game. Are you good enough to win a national championship? Is your defense good enough? Because the offense is going to light it up.
Yeah, this is the ultimate. I think that this definitely has to be the game of the night, or the game of the day. There's
Kicks off at
not
noon,
really
but yeah.
much else on there. Um, and the thing that gives me pause is Ohio State being favored by 20. And by pause, I mean like that indicates to me that Ohio State could just blow the doors open on this game. And
100%.
that's very possible, very likely, the way that I would lean as well. Um, but I haven't watched Ohio State enough to know because they had their one game canceled and they haven't really been playing anybody. This is like their only game of the year until they get to the Big Ten championship game. And that's really good as long as it's like a solid Wisconsin team that's around right now, in order to give them a fight. But this is really their only real test of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And like I look at it and I go, okay, Penn State put up 25 on them. Rutgers put up 27 on them. Like it's Indiana is a better offense than Rutgers. Penn State has been able to move the ball, but they are incredibly sloppy, don't execute at a high level, turn over the ball, things like that. Indiana is bad defensively comparatively here, but I wish we had gotten the Maryland game the week before, because that I would have loved to see what Tua could have done. It
Mm-hmm.
would have given us a much
Talia.
better game. Yeah.
They're not the same person, Nate. One's in the NFL.
I know, and they don't even look the same on the field because he's
No.
so much skinnier. 2.0. No, that's not fair. But it would have been interesting to see there. I, it is a. If you don't have the stones to do it for Indiana, by all means, don't do it. It is a line that does suggest it's either going to be close, and by close I mean within 2 scores, or they're going to blow the barn doors off them. And I lean more towards it's going to be close because I don't. Ohio State lost a lot of guys on defense, and I don't know if they've replaced them. And I would rather bet on that than bet on they have, especially the way Tom Allen has got this Indiana team going. But it's a very risky proposition because it's going to be 2 scores or it's going to be by 30.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see here because this is the game that I have circled
It's the game. It's the game of the
in
week.
Sharpie on my calendar because it's the only game on Ohio State's schedule. So if they can't get up for this game, then I mean, we're gonna have to start talking about different teams in the college football playoffs.
100% a game. Agree. It's the prove it game. Another game I mean by kind of prove it game right off the bat. UC, UCF. The line's at 6. UC's favored. Over under 63.5. This is a prove it game. This is a, are you the best non-Power 5 conference team since the playoff era has begun? That's what this game is to me. Because if they don't beat the brakes off UCF, and by breaks, I mean, I think 2 touchdowns. I'm not going to say breaks. I think they have to win by at least 2 touchdowns. I think it's going to be really hard. There's one scenario where they definitely get in undefeated. But I think outside of that, it's going to be really hard to convince voters to say, yeah, we put you in the playoffs. When they have been destroying teams. They beat a ranked SMU. They beat a Houston handily. But UCF is definitely the most dangerous offensively. Can your defense shut them down, and can your offense perform?
Yeah, this is definitely a will you see. Do you know if they're having fans, like how many fans they're having in this game, I guess you should say, because it is in Florida?
I
mean,
don't know.
I'm trying to come up with reasons why this line opened up at 3.5 and then got bet up to 6.
Yeah, I jumped on it at 5. I think it's based purely on the idea that offense for UCF is extremely potent. And there's this idea that the UC defense hasn't been tested. I disagree with that because Houston puts up a ton of points. Now, they're not UCF's offense, but they put up a ton of points. So does SMU.
I was going to say, SMU has Shane Buechele on their team.
Yeah, and UC absolutely put them into a chokehold and just choked them out because they were utterly dominant against those teams. So I don't really know. But even without fans, I just think it's a spot that UC knows that they have to they gotta dominate them in all aspects of the game, and I think they're going to do it because they are. I have them on my card this week. I think I said it at the beginning of the season. I said it before most people. I have them as the future bet to win their conference, and I said they are going to make the push for the playoffs, and they're going to make it hard to not put them in if there's a scenario where they can be in an opening. And I think the only way we get there is if Notre Dame beats Clemson again in the ACC championship, and the rest of the conference's winners are undefeated. I think that's probably the only way they get in. Which is
the other one is if OSU has their random hiccup game that they always have.
And Wisconsin is not undefeated at the end. Because if Wisconsin's defeated at the end and they win the Big Ten and they beat Ohio State, I don't know how you don't put them in.
I would agree.
It's hard.
I didn't want to think of that because I do want to see a non-Power 5 team get in. As long as that non-Power 5 team, I feel like, can compete. And that's how I feel about UC right now. Because I turned them on for the Houston game to, like, sit down and physically watch them. And I couldn't because I was bored. They just choked them out. Like, it was over before it even started. So I had to turn it off. It's like, let's go to the next game.
They're a phenomenal football team. And I think this year is the strongest case, and you could make it. I wish they could just change it midseason and be like, fuck it, we're doing 6 teams. I do think there's a big drop-off from the top 6 to the top 8. I think there's a big drop-off in college football. I think there's a big drop-off between the top 2 teams most years.
I don't see the drop-off to 8.
Maybe not this year, but most years. I mean, we get the 14 playoffs.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Last year, we were struggling to get the 4th team in.
Yeah, like
that's how we ended up with Oklahoma last year.
Oh my God, I know. I always forget that. The fact that they continue to just put Oklahoma in, knowing who Oklahoma is just. But there wasn't really another choice.
There was nobody else. Yeah,
there was no viable choice. And this year there are viable. BYU's a very good football team, and there is that argument. I get that argument. Like the dudes that are on BYU and UC, when you put them up against the dudes against Alabama, they're different. They're different guys. But football's still a sport. It's not like basketball where anybody can win and there can be true madness. But it is a sport where if even the top team just stutters a little bit, and that UC team in this example, who's good enough, is on their A game 100%, they can win. They can. And we saw that with Boise State way back when bowl games still meant something. So
they also played against Oklahoma.
They did, but that was a different Oklahoma team too. Like it was impressive. Like we've seen it happen. I think this is the best argument in the playoff era for sure, and probably my lifetime for a non-Power 5 to beat a Power 5 team.
I would agree. Even the UCF teams, I didn't have the same feeling that
No.
I do about UC.
They are so good, and it's a different level. But they're on my card. I like them here. I still like him at 6 just as much as I liked him at 5. I think if he gets above a touchdown, if you're getting him at 7, I think you back away from it and you just watch the game in enjoyment, or maybe you go the other way, because I do think it'll be, once again, I think UC will beat the brakes off them, but it's a little bit more of a, that's what they have to do as opposed to what they will do.
Yep.
My computer's messing up left and right. But
Next game.
another kind of prove it game to me. Oklahoma State. And it's not so much a playoff prove it game to the fact of national implications, but it's a prove it game. Is Oklahoma State's defense as good as they think they are, and can their offense hang around with a team that can put up points? And I know Oklahoma's banged up, but can they hang around it? I don't think they can. Like, Hubbard's banged up. He's playing, but he's banged up. They've been really bad. Like, they don't look good offensively. Like, they put up points, but they don't look good doing it. And I think the defense is very good, but it's bedlam. So
Yeah.
have we ever seen a game where a defense hangs around for the full 4 quarters in bedlam? I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Nope.
These are like 80-point game totals.
Yeah, I guess this is the game of the night, but like I don't.
Which, by the way,
I don't have
over-under's
many
at
thoughts on
59 and a
this.
half. The spread's at 7, which does feel big for the spread. But over-under's at 59 and a half.
That seems low.
It does. And it's because
Very low.
That's because Oklahoma State's defense is so good and the offense isn't as great. But I don't know. I can't justify taking an under on this game. Ever.
I would never be able to take an under on this
Never.
game.
In bedlam?
It'd be like taking an under in the Oklahoma-Texas game.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
What? Why?
Why?
Wasn't that the one that was the bad beat earlier in the year too? That was like, was that the one that went into overtime? Am I thinking about the right game?
God,
That
it
was
feels
like
so
a
long ago.
ridiculously high over, and that feels like a year ago now already.
Well, there was the Tech Liberty game
Wasn't that the
that
long-
was over and
No,
it went to
no.
not overtime, but
No. It was earlier this year. This one into four
Yeah.
overtimes. Yes, they were gonna hit the under, and then it went into 4 overtimes,
right,
and
yeah.
it smashed the over, and it was close to 100. It was 98 points.
yeah. I can't in good conscience not take it over here. I might take Oklahoma at 7 because I just
You talked me into it, Nate. I just want the over in this game. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the over. I'm gonna stay away. I might tweet it out. We'll see. Um,
I only want the over simply because I don't really care too much about this game.
oh, it's bedlam, so I'm gonna watch it. But I don't know. My gut's saying Oklahoma, but I don't know yet. I might tweet it out. We'll see. Wisconsin Northwestern, another prove it game here.
That
Line-
is the one that I'm interested in.
Line
as
is
well.
at 7.5 right now. Wisconsin is obviously favored. Where are you on this game?
That seems huge to me because I feel like Northwestern's been playing really well.
They have been.
But I also feel like Wisconsin has just put everything together because they're not like they don't feel like your typical Wisconsin team anymore
That's
at
the thing.
all,
That's
and that scares me.
the point
As like
I have here.
that scares me is trying to get Ohio State into the playoffs too. It's like Wisconsin, if they open it up, they're going to be opening it up and throwing all over people and scoring a ton, and then they have their defense that they've always had.
That's the point that I keep coming back to when I think about this game. Like, initially when I saw that line, I was like, "Ooh, that feels big for Northwestern Wisconsin," which is generally pretty close games. At Northwestern too, they're playing good football, but where's the hole in Wisconsin right now? I know they haven't played like great teams, but like most of college football, you're not playing great teams. You have like 2 or 3 weekends if you're in a good conference like the Big Ten where you might play in a top tier team, and that's just not the case this year. But like, where's the hole? I mean, they're dominating on all phases of the ball. Their offensive line is a Wisconsin offensive line. It's very good. Sure, they don't have a Melvin Gordon or a Jonathan Taylor at running back, but the running game's still very good. And they got the big uglies up front dominating the line of scrimmage, and they got their beauty in Graham Martz, who is a quarterback. Like, Wisconsin has a quarterback this year. They have a quarterback.
Something I've never seen.
That is a thing.
I mean, they had Russell Wilson, but since then,
Yes, since Russell
no.
Wilson, it hasn't been a thing. And the defense, Jim Leonard's doing what he does. He's been doing the last couple of years. He's taking guys who didn't make the Alabama rosters or the Georgia rosters from defense. They weren't heavily recruited generally. And they're fast. They're ferocious. I think they're one of the highest scoring defenses in the country right now in college football. And once again, point out the hole there. Where have they been bad? They're in the right position. Like, yeah, they haven't played great teams, but when you looked at the Michigan game, they were locking down wide receivers. They were constantly in position to make plays. Like, they're college football teams, especially Wisconsin Northwestern, they stay the same year to year. But every once in a while, if a team can add, like when we're talking about quality football teams that just are consistently quality but can't break the mold, it's usually because of like one hiccup. They can't get, you look at Oklahoma, they can't play defense. Or you look at Wisconsin, they don't have a quarterback since Russ. They have that quarterback now. I don't see what stops them in this game. I don't see why they don't blow Northwestern out. And by blowout, I mean like more than 10 points. I don't see why they don't cover, I should say.
Yeah, I guess this is tough because this is literally the only game that they have to get up for all year, too. I mean, they don't play anybody left. Like, they do play Indiana, so never mind. They do have 2 games.
I think they're going to crush Indiana because matchup-wise, I don't think Indiana's got the bodies to do it physically, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's weird seeing a different Wisconsin team and having to have my brain adjust. I feel like it would be very different if this was one of those weird Northwestern games. This is at 12 o'clock, right at noon East Coast time, and right at 11 o'clock Central time, and like all the players are still like half asleep when they're going through the game, and it's just a mess. But now they have Graham Mertz back there, which is crazy to say as a redshirt freshman, and he is just slinging the ball all over the field.
Yeah, he's incredible. And this is a prove-it game. Like, it's a prove-it game in the mind of, is Wisconsin as dominant as I think they are, or as the nation thinks they are? And I think they are. I think they're going to beat the piss out of Northwestern. Maybe I'm super wrong on that. But I don't see they're doing what you want good teams to do. Like we were used to in the BCS era where they just beat up on bad teams, and they're just beating up on bad teams. So that I love that game. I've got Wisconsin on my card there. I was trying to think. There was one other game where I was like, "Ooh, I like that game." Before we just read off our cards. Oh, Penn State.
Are we going into our top 10?
Yeah, I'm going to give out my bets and then top 10.
Okay.
But Iowa, Penn State. This game is a prove it to me. And the fact is Penn State in a true free fall where they might not win a game this year? And is Iowa low key dangerous? I'm not saying good. I'm saying dangerous. Because Penn State has, for how bad as they are, they do move the ball offensively. They don't play much defense right now, but they do move the ball offensively. And Iowa got lost to Purdue by 4, and they lost to Northwestern by 1. But then they beat the brakes off Michigan State, and they beat the brakes off Minnesota. Sure, and so and that's what you're supposed to do, and they looked good in those games. It's bad teams, but do they become dangerous? And by dangerous, what I mean is they have Wisconsin to wrap up the season.
It's easy to look good when you're getting the ball on your own 35-yard line every time to start a drive.
That is not untrue, but can they – how do they perform against a team that while they are not executing at a high level and they're turning over the ball, that can move the ball, though, offensively? Like Penn State's putting up 25 points a game. They're averaging 437 yards on offense. Like they're moving the ball. So how do they look defensively for when they play a Wisconsin, and do they potentially become, because if that's the last game of the season and Wisconsin's undefeated and they've got Ohio State in the Big Ten championship the following week, do they potentially overlook Iowa?
Are they looking ahead?
Yes.
I don't know.
And that's why this game's a prove-it game to me for down the line. My gambling brain's thinking, all right, I got to get eyes on Iowa and just see how they perform against a team that has talent but is just not executing well. And how do they look? And do they have the potential to be a scare down the road?
Well, I like your analysis, Nate, because this game was not on my radar at all. I didn't even have a thought, or not even a part of me wanted to watch this game.
Dude, I can make this argument
But
for
now I
so
do.
many games this week of just like my gambling brain is lighting up. Not so much from a betting because I don't like a lot to take, but there's so many games where I'm just looking at it like, oh, I got to watch this game and get eyeballs on it for down the line to potentially bet, because it's just like matchups, teams that don't stylistically are going to take advantage of something here.
Why is LSU favored against Arkansas?
No idea. Could not tell you. Literally no idea. I saw that line earlier this week, and I have no clue. I'm not betting it because I have no idea why, but I couldn't figure it out. They're starting a true freshman, I believe, this week at LSU.
I know I tried to avoid the trap last week, and you jumped right into it and were able to escape it. But this feels like a trap.
It does. I mean, I guess the idea is Arkansas has got some fight to them, but I don't know. And I get everything that's going on, the turmoil that's going on down at LSU.
You mean LSU has some fight to them?
LSU does. Arkansas has got some fight to them, but LSU's got a lot of turmoil going on in their program from some really just bad shit with sexual assaults and just a culture that seems to be permissive down there. And so maybe that's playing into it. Also, I think the true freshman's getting the start for LSU this week. I believe, and that's always tough, even in the SEC, even against an Arkansas, it's tough to get your first kind of start. I believe that's why, but don't quote me on that. I could be way off, but I believe that's it.
No, I was wondering why LSU is favored. I feel like Arkansas should be favored in this game.
Oh, I thought you were.
And you're listing listing reasons why I should be worried about.
Yeah, sorry.
Why LSU might lose the game.
Yeah, reverse everything I said there, and just apply it the other way.
You're giving reasons to be worried about LSU, and I just said Arkansas should be winning this game, right?
Yeah, I would be worried about LSU. Arkansas, I think, should win that game. Maybe. I don't know. My brain's broken right now.
Okay. All right. Brain's broken. Moving on.
I haven't eaten dinner yet. My brain's fucking broken. I'm working off like 4 hours of sleep here. All right. Here's what I got so far on my card. I'm going to add to it later. But I have got over in Bedlam, Indiana plus 20.5, UC -6, Iowa -2, Wisconsin -7, and that's it for right now. But I'm going to add to it. That's all I have.
Perfect. Well, we'll be honest here. We're all here for Nate's picks anyways and not mine. Mine aren't that great anyways. So I'm just going to watch the 3 games that I really want to watch this week, and we will go from there. See if I have some picks next week.
It's been not a terrible betting year right now. I'm like right at 60%. 49 and 32 in 2 pushes in college football. In NFL, I'm 53, 43, and 3 pushes in college football or in NFL. I'm 102 and 66 on the year with 4 pushes. It's about a 61% win percentage right now. It's going well.
That's making money.
Yeah,
that's making money.
That's a lot of games. Yeah, we're making money here. As long as you're managing your bankroll well. All right, let's finish this bad boy up. We have got top 10s.